And welcome back to another session. Listen, we have been talking about how to be a better dater. We've been talking about how to be a better dater. We are already on day 22. Can you believe it? Out of day 30. So we have, what is that? 8 more days? 8 more days for me to go live to talk about how to become a better dater. If you are on YouTube and you want to get access to all of the videos that I've already created. You have a playlist already on YouTube with all of the videos already in there up until today, including today. It'll show once it's finished. If you are watching this on Facebook, then all you have to do is whatever group you are in, all you have to do is scroll up to see all of the videos, all of the topics, everything that I have already discussed. So now today we're actually talking about defining what a healthy look what I can talk. Today we are talking about what a healthy relationship looks like to you, for you, nobody else's opinion, yourself. We're talking about setting standards. We've already been talking about this for 3 weeks. Excuse me, 3 weeks. Today is the final week that we're talking. This is week 4, and we're talking all about how to set up your relationship to make it work for you. Again, for you, not anybody else in your family, not your friends, not anybody else, but for yourself. And so a healthy relationship is all about what you want to have for you. It is rooted in mutual respect, in trust, and of course, open communication. We've talked about communication a lot of times because communication literally is the key to any relationship getting off the ground, to the trust being built, to the foundation being solid and not being on sinking sand, by the two of you understanding who each other is, by asking questions, answering those questions, being open about them, being honest about them. So each of you can make an informed decision if you want to continue with the relationship or not. So defining what a healthy relationship looks like is what we're talking about today. It is a partnership where both people feel valued and supported. Healthy relationships prioritize several things, and I'm going to give you a list right here. The first one is respect. Each person acknowledges the other person's feelings, boundaries, we've talked about that a whole lot, and individuality. You being able to show up and just be you, even though you are a team, an item, right? So understanding that you are in a relationship, but you're still trying to work on becoming a better individual while you're in the relationship and or before you even get into the relationship. So respect. The second one I already mentioned, which is trust. There's no need for constant suspicion or to be controlled or try to control the other person. Both people within the relationship need to feel secure. These are things that identify a healthy relationship. So, respect, trust. The third one is communication. We keep coming back to communication. As I already mentioned, it is the key. It has to be open, it has to be honest, and you have to be kind when you are communicating with your spouse in order to feel like it is a healthy relationship, in order for the both of you to feel like you can be there and you feel heard, you feel understood, you feel appreciated, you feel seen, you feel like this person gets you, the real you. You can literally go in there and take off your mask, the one that you wear out into the world. You can come home and release that. You can just be, or you should be able to just be yourself, flaws and all, when you enter into your home with your partner, and or if you're not in the same home together, when you enter into their space, you should still feel welcome, and you should feel like, I feel safe here, as well as him coming to your humble abode feeling the exact same way. He should feel safe with you. He should feel heard with you. He should feel understood with you, at least to a certain extent, because the both of you have been sharing and opening up yourself to one another. So respect, trust, communication. Now there is support. These are the 4 things that a healthy relationship consists of. Support, where each of you are encouraging one another's growth. You are deciding to celebrate each other's wins. You're not being selfish. You're not being jealous of the other person when they achieve something. You are on the sideline as their cheerleader. So there is a support. When they say that they want to start a new endeavor, even if you don't feel this as, dang, I don't really know if this one is going to go off well. They still need your support, because the truth of the matter is, when a person comes to you, your potential spouse and or your spouse, right? They come to you and they're sharing, and they want to be open about something that God has placed on them. And I like to say God, because that's who I believe in. God has placed a vision in their heart. That vision is not for you. That vision is for your partner. So if God has placed a vision on you, you want your partner to be supportive of you as well. So give the common courtesy and respect to be able to lend that to your partner as well. So we have respect, trust, communication, support, and now the fifth one is equality. Decisions and responsibilities need to be shared. I didn't say equal as in they need to be 50-50, but you need to figure out what works well in your relationship and discuss these things. Maybe your weakness is not being great at cleaning up. Like, seriously, maybe that's your weakness. So maybe the two of you can come together and come up with a solution, whether it's you are splitting up the chores that you just absolutely hate, or figuring out if you can financially pay somebody else to come in and actually clean up the space for you. But whatever the responsibilities in the household are, both of you should talk about what it looks like, so you feel like, okay, I'm doing the ones that I want to do and am good at doing, right? I don't hate these things. And then the other party can do the exact same thing. So those are the 5 areas in which a healthy relationship is defined. Again, I'll repeat them. It's respect, trust, communication, support, and equality. So what does setting your standards actually mean? Setting your standards means defining what you need and expect in a relationship in order to feel respected, in order to feel safe, and in order to feel fulfilled in the relationship. Because it's about knowing your worth, understanding that you deserve love that honors you as a whole person. Another thing that it inquires is identifying what your deal breakers are. This is something that you absolutely should be doing before you go out on your first date, understanding what your deal breakers are. So when you do go out on the date and you feel like you have attracted someone, right? You can ask these really deep questions, or I should say thought provoking questions of what is a deal breaker for you, right? And I know a lot of men actually say the word respect. If I'm feeling disrespected in my relationship, that's a deal breaker for me. And you have to probe that and go a little bit deeper, because one man's idea of respect across the board is kind of universal, but then there are the nuances that you may not feel that you're being disrespectful on, right? It could be, honestly, it could just be you voicing your opinion about a particular subject. He may feel disrespected about that. Yes, your tone matters about disrespect, but the point is to probe and go deeper. Ask more questions about, hey, I hear you saying that a deal breaker for you is you feeling like you're being disrespected in the relationship, but what does disrespect actually look like to you, so I can be mindful when I'm speaking to you, when I'm doing certain actions, that I don't feel like I'm stepping on your toes, because that's not what I'm trying to do. But I am trying to understand what it means to be respectful in your eyes. So having deeper conversations, probing more, and not just keeping it superficial to say, okay, so he doesn't like to be disrespected. Well, most people in general don't like to be disrespected. It's just really high on men's, in the men's hierarchy, right? Also, communicating your needs. Communication keeps coming up because so many people fail to be really good communicators. They're not really good at clarifying what it is that they need or even want, and or there's just some fear behind, if I say this, then what is the outcome gonna be? Or how are they going to react when I say X, Y, and Z? And so you want to try to put a lot of that fear to bed and still have the conversation. Have the courage to speak up, have the courage to ask for what you want and need, and then be open to having a dialogue and not making it a monologue, right? And then I yesterday I actually talked about silence and how some people, when they're trying to have these difficult conversations, they want to interject or get really ticked off when the person that they're speaking to, in this case, your potential spouse or potential partner, and you don't give them the time to really process what you're saying, right? And so you may have brought up the problem, right? And you two are talking about the problem. And then when it comes time to, you have said everything that you needed to say, and then there's this silence moment that happens. A lot of women get really antsy or even pissed off when the silence happens. And in that you need to be okay with the silence, because your partner in that moment is processing what you just said. They're trying to come up with an informed answer or response to what you just said. And or they're thinking, well, can I give a really detailed answer in this moment, or should I table this for now and then say, hey, can we come back to it? But don't be afraid when the silence is actually there. Your partner is processing the topic at hand, and you should be able to give him the respect enough to be able to process exactly what you just said. So don't be afraid of the silence when it does happen. And then there is this, getting back on topic, there is this topic of boundaries, as we always talk about, sticking to your boundaries within the relationship. This is how you set the standards in the relationship, because sticking to your boundaries ensures that your standards are maintained, even if this means you needing to end the relationship. Not being afraid to walk away if it is needed. If further discussion is needed, right? If there are some actions that need to take place before you make an informed decision, but you want to be intentional, right? You want to have these tough conversations and give your partner the opportunity to change, say it, habits or behaviors before you make a final decision to say, I'm no longer here. But also understanding that you are strong enough, and what you're asking for, you deserve to get. So don't be afraid to walk away if you need to walk away, but don't let that be your first go-to, because then you're not giving the other person the opportunity to actually man up and do exactly what the two of you have discussed. But all of this comes back to you being mature enough to have, say it, tough conversation in the first place. You have to be willing to step into these difficult conversations and give your partner the opportunity to change said behavior based off of what you have discussed. Excuse me. If you're just complaining about the thing and you never bring a solution to the table, then you are a part of the problem as well. You have to be willing to complain, go and have the tough conversation about whatever it is that you are annoyed about and with, but then also take a solution with you. So you feel like, okay, we've talked about this. This is what he actually said that he was willing to do. This is what I said I'm willing to do. And now you have to give some time in between. And the time frame is different for each person, but there has to be some time in between the conversation, right? And you making a final decision to say, I'm going to stay or I'm going to go. But this is how you create a healthy relationship and what it looks like to you. Communication is always going to be there. Boundaries are always going to be there. Understanding your needs are always going to be there. All of these things are going to be there. But again, this is not the relationship that everybody has. You're trying to create something great. If it's already great, now you're trying to create something phenomenal, right? By just setting these standards, putting better things into place so you feel even more connected to your partner. So the two of you literally are the two of you against the world. And that's also against everybody that doesn't live in your household, if you are to an item. But if you're in a relationship, the two of you still should be willing to keep everybody else out of the relationship, especially if you're trying to build something healthy, especially if neither of you really have the what is the word I'm looking for? Examples. the examples in your life to say that this is what a good relationship is. This is what a healthy relationship looks like. I want to model this in my particular relationship because I feel like this was healthy. When I see them do this, that feels good to me. It looks good to me. They seem to connect deep on a deeper level when they do X, Y, and Z. I want to implement that into my own relationship. So you're really trying to figure out what healthy looks like for you, but also not keeping it surface level. You want to probe deeper because what one person deems as a healthy relationship may be toxic for you. That may be something that triggers you. So now you're trying to figure out deeper, asking deeper questions. So with that, let's go a little bit deeper. Okay. What does respect look like in a relationship? Respect shows up in a small, consistent actions that your partner does daily. So, for example, listening when you express yourself. Your partner listens to you without dismissing your feelings or what you're saying. It also looks like valuing your time and your energy. So if you say that you need time to recharge or to refocus, your partner doesn't just brush you off. Your partner is like, okay, well, how much time do you need? You need about an hour or two. And then they honor that, which brings me to them honoring your boundaries. So that's what respect looks like. It looks like an open dialogue between the two of you to figure out what respect looks like to the both of you. So again, as I talked about the surface level, we're not doing surface level because what it means to one person, it may mean something just a bit different to another. So we're probing deeper. Communication is important, as we said multiple times already throughout this entire video. Communication is more than just speaking. It's about creating a space where both of you feel heard and understood. One of the things that you can do to make sure that the both of you are communicating and feeling understood and heard in the relationship is to schedule some time. Literally, I know that this sounds like, why would I schedule time for this? But if you don't schedule it, it ain't getting done because life be lifing, and you may be a part of that lifing moment when you're like, oh dang, well, I knew I was supposed to do something, and then a week has passed, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, and then we going into a year before you even had a deeper conversation. So put something on the schedule. I like to say monthly, at least, like the minimum is monthly, to have check-ins about what's going right in the relationship, what each of you need to work on in the relationship, what you talked about last time. Are they doing good in that area? Are they still slacking in that area? That way, both of you feel like you are a part of the relationship and both of you are taking accountability for how you are showing up in the relationship. Both of you are. It's not one-sided. So you can schedule regular check-ins. I like to say at least monthly at the minimum. So each of you feel like you are a part of a thriving relationship. Again, where both of you are saying, okay, I want to work on this. I said that I'm gonna work on this. Now I need to really do work on this. Then you have to identify what your standards actually are. So reflect on your needs by asking yourself, what behaviors make me feel loved and respected? What does my partner need to do in order for me to feel loved and respected? What things won't I tolerate? You can have a list, right? But there are some things specifically, since most people have been in more than one relationship or even married, right? And so what are some of the things that happened previously where you're like, no, I'm not dealing with this ever again in any relationship? So when that red flag comes up, you can have a conversation or not. Like really, because some things are just an absolute no. I am never dealing with this ever again. And then some things you're saying, you know what, let me have a conversation to see why they're doing this. And then maybe we can talk a little bit deeper on how to alleviate it if they're even open to it. And also if they're aware of it, because maybe what he's doing, he may not even be aware that he's doing this. I mean, it's possible. It's totally possible. Sometimes the things that we do, we're not even aware that we do them. A very small example to this is even for myself. I had a bad tendency of cutting people off while they were speaking, but I didn't realize this was something. I didn't realize I was doing it, basically. So whenever people would talk, I would have a tendency to cut them off and ask a question about whatever it is. I'm sure it has something to do with the topic that they were saying, but I would not let them complete their thought. And again, I didn't even realize I was doing it until one day my brother he told me in the not so nice way, like all aggressive and everything, like, why you keep cutting me off? And I was just like, what? I do? And so I didn't even realize I was doing it. So now that is one of my areas that I'm still not 100% in, but I'm definitely better because I make it a whole intention to just bite my tongue if needed, but also to say, I'm working on this area. I'm weak in this area. I'm working on this area. So forgive me if I cut you off, but I really do try really hard to just shut up and allow the other person to feel heard, because I notice it when I don't get to finish my complete statement when people do it to me. So the very thing that irritates me is the thing that I do. So just think about something that somebody complained that you find to be highly irritating. You probably do it yourself, may not even be aware of it. That is something that I had to learn the hard way, but I was not even aware of the fact that I had been cutting him off and just people until he pointed it out. And then I realized, you're right. You're right. I cut people off. That's not okay. And it's also something that I really, really hate when people do to me. So when you know what your standards are, when you know what you stand for, you can recognize when a relationship doesn't meet your needs faster, instead of being there for weeks and months and years. And then finally one day it's clicking, like, I don't never get what I need out of this relationship. You can recognize this stuff a lot faster and you don't have to stick around uh, unless you want to. Enforcing those boundaries. Not only do you need to set the boundaries, you also need to enforce the boundaries as well. It's one thing to set them, it's another thing to uphold them. This requires consistency. It requires courage. It requires boldness, but it also requires you understanding that this is why I put this into place. I put this into place because I knew that I needed this thing to never happen or to not happen as much. And so when you put boundaries into place, you need to be ready to uphold them, to enforce them, and to do what it is that you said that you're going to do. Because here's the thing, when you set a boundary and do not enforce it, the respect level of the other person for you goes way down. So whatever boundary you said that you were going to enforce, you need to do just that. Otherwise, they're going to start walking all over you and you're going to look like a doormat, because the words that's coming out of your mouth, they do not believe them because it happened one time or multiple times. So when you set the boundary, enforce the boundary. And then you have to think about why self-love comes first. Why does it come first? Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other connection in your life. Self love means prioritizing your emotional, your physical, and your spiritual well being. So, for example, spending time reflecting on what you want makes you happy. Spending time reflecting on what makes you happy in the relationship is going to help you. So, what hobbies do you need to continue to do while you're in the relationship? What friendships do you need to continue to nurture while you're in the relationship? What goals are you trying to aspire that you need to continue while you're in the relationship? Feeding into yourself is going to help you show up better within your relationship. It's going to help you attract, if you're not in a relationship, it's going to help you to attract someone that much better. You look more interesting when you have other things going for yourself other than waiting on the relationship, and or when you're in the relationship, you're just like because you want to spend every waking moment with your partner. You're putting a lot of pressure on the other person when you want to spend a lot of time with your partner, or I should say every waking moment with your partner, and you don't feel like you want to give them any time to themselves or to do what it is that they want to do, and however it is that they recharge. So this is what creating a healthy relationship looks like. I would love to know your thoughts on what it is that you're implementing into your own relationship in order to make it a healthy relationship, one where you're not comparing your relationship to someone else's. But if there is something that you saw from another couple, then I would love to know what you saw that you're going to implement into your life, into your relationship, or that you are already implementing into your relationship. You can add it in the comment section below, because I love to see exactly what you have learned from other people that you're like, okay, that looks healthy. I want to implement that into my own relationship. And have you already implemented it, or are you still in the dating phases? So that is all I have today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I am going live for 8 more days. We have 8 more days until 30 days of how to become a better dater is finished. So I will see you here tomorrow evening. Yeah, tomorrow evening. I'll see you here. Bye-bye now.